Hey, it's Deo, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. I want to talk about a book that, I'm not kidding you, has the power to completely transform your life from the inside out. It's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. You've probably heard of it, maybe you've seen it on a shelf, but have you ever really dug into what it means? This isn't just another self-help book filled with quick fixes or life hacks. No, this is something so much deeper. It's a framework for living a life that truly matters, one that's built on solid, universal principles. These habits aren't about faking it till you make it or manipulating situations to get what you want. They are about a fundamental character shift. They're about moving from being dependent on others to being independent, and then taking it a step further to being interdependent, where you can create amazing things with other people. Covey's work is all about building lasting effectiveness, both in your personal life, with your family, your health, your own mind, and in your professional life. It's about creating a foundation so strong that no matter what life throws at you, you have the tools to handle it with grace and strength. So, what we're going to do today is break it down. We're going to walk through each of the 7 habits one by one. I'm not just going to tell you what they are. I'm going to show you how you can start applying them to your life, right now, today. Because that's where the magic happens, not in knowing, but in doing. By the end of this video, you're going to have a practical roadmap to becoming a more effective, fulfilled, and successful person. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive in. This is going to be good. All right, let's get right into it with habit 1, be proactive. Now this sounds so simple, right? Be proactive. But I want you to stop and really think about what this means. It's not just about taking initiative, although that's part of it. At its core, being proactive is about taking 100% responsibility for your life. That means you stop blaming your boss, your partner, the traffic, the weather, your past. You stop blaming everything and everyone else for your circumstances. You recognize that between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space, and in that space lies your power to choose your response. Think about it. How often do you hear yourself saying things like, "I have to go to this meeting," or "he makes me so angry," or "if only I had more time"? That's reactive language. It implies that you are a victim of your circumstances, that outside forces are in control. A proactive person changes that language. Instead of "I have to," they say, "I choose to." Instead of "he makes me mad," they say, "I am in control of my own feelings." It's a small shift in words, but it represents a massive shift in mindset. It's the difference between being a passenger in your own life and grabbing the steering wheel with both hands. Let's talk about control. Covey introduces this powerful concept of the circle of concern and the circle of influence. Your circle of concern includes all the things you worry about: the global economy, politics, what other people think of you. It's huge, and frankly, most of it is outside of your control. Now, inside that is your circle of influence. This is where you have power. It includes your attitude, your choices, your work ethic, how you treat people. Reactive people focus all their energy on the circle of concern. They complain, they blame, and their circle of influence actually shrinks because they're wasting energy on things they can't change. But you're going to be different. You're going to be a proactive person. Proactive people focus their time and energy on their circle of influence. They work on the things they can do something about, themselves. They work on being a better friend, a more diligent employee, a more patient parent. And you know what happens when you do that? Your circle of influence begins to expand. As you prove to yourself and others that you are responsible and effective, you gain more trust, more responsibility, and more influence over your life and your environment. So here's the challenge for you today. I want you to listen to your own language. For the next 24 hours, pay attention to every time you use reactive phrases. Every time you catch yourself blaming something or someone, I want you to stop. Just pause. And then, I want you to reframe it. Instead of saying, "My boss is so disorganized, I can't get anything done," try saying, "Okay, given the situation, what is one thing I can do right now to move this project forward?" You are taking back control. You are stepping out of the victim role and into the role of the creator of your own life. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's not about toxic positivity. It's about acknowledging the reality of a situation and then focusing your energy where it will make a difference. When you're stuck in traffic, you can't control the cars in front of you, but you can control whether you listen to an audiobook, call a friend, hands-free of course, or just practice deep breathing. You have a choice. Being proactive means you recognize and exercise that choice every single day, in every single moment. This habit is the foundation for all the others. You can't even begin to think about the other 6 habits if you haven't mastered this one. Why? Because if you believe you are a product of your conditions, then there's no point in trying to change. You're just a pawn in the game. But the second you accept that you are the programmer, that you are the one writing the code for your life through your choices, everything changes. You unlock a level of freedom and power you never knew you had. So let's make a commitment, you and I. Right now, we are going to stop waiting for things to happen to us, and we are going to start making things happen. We are going to own our mistakes without making excuses. We are going to focus on what we can do, not what we can't. We are going to be the creative force in our own lives. This is habit 1. This is where your transformation begins. It all starts with the choice to be proactive. Okay, now that we've established that you are the driver of your life, let's talk about habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. This is so incredibly important. Think about it this way. If you're building a house, you don't just show up with a pile of lumber and start nailing boards together, right? No, you start with a blueprint. You know exactly what the finished house should look like before you even hammer the first nail. You've visualized every room, every window, every detail. Your life is the most important thing you will ever build. So why would you start building it without a blueprint? Beginning with the end in mind means knowing where you're going. It's about defining with incredible clarity what you want your life to stand for. Covey suggests a powerful visualization exercise, and I want you to try it with me. Picture yourself attending a funeral. You walk into the room, you see the flowers, you hear the quiet music, you walk up to the casket and you see yourself lying there. This is your funeral 3 years from now. You sit down and you see that there are 4 speakers, a family member, a friend, a colleague from work, and someone from your community. What do you want them to say about you? Seriously, take a moment. What do you want them to say about the kind of spouse, parent, or child you were? What do you want your best friend to remember about your character? What contributions do you want your coworker to say you made? What difference do you want to have made in your community? The answers to these questions are your definition of success. They reveal your deepest values. This isn't about some vague idea of being happy. This is about defining the character you want to have and the contributions you want to make. That is your end. Once you have that vision, the next step is to create a personal mission statement. I know, it might sound a little corporate or cheesy, but stick with me here. This isn't a slogan for a company. It's the constitution for your life. It's a written document that captures your values, your principles, and your purpose. It becomes the standard by which you measure everything else. When you're faced with a decision, big or small, you can hold it up against your mission statement and ask, does this align with who I want to be and where I want to go? It makes decision-making so much easier. Your mission statement isn't something you write once and forget about. It's a living document. You might revise it as you grow and learn, but it serves as your North Star. For example, if part of your mission statement is to be a present and loving parent, it becomes a lot easier to say no to that extra work project that would require you to travel all week. If your mission is to inspire creativity in others, it helps you decide to volunteer for that art program instead of just watching another season of a show on Netflix. It provides a framework based on your deepest values. All things are created twice. There's the mental or first creation, and the physical or second creation. The blueprint is the first creation. The house is the second. Writing your mission statement is the first creation of your life's purpose. Living it out every day is the second. Without the first creation, the second creation is left to chance, to circumstances, to other people's agendas. You're just reacting to whatever comes your way, instead of proactively creating the life you truly want. This habit applies to everything, not just your life as a whole. Before you have a difficult conversation, begin with the end in mind. What outcome do you want? Before you start a project at work, begin with the end in mind. What does success look like? Before you plan your week, begin with the end in mind. What is the most important thing you want to accomplish? This mental rehearsal, this act of defining success before you start, dramatically increases your chances of achieving it. So your homework for this habit is to actually do the funeral exercise. Don't just listen to me talk about it. Find a quiet 30 minutes, close your eyes, and really go there. And then start drafting your personal mission statement. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start writing down the values, principles, and roles that are most important to you. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? This is the blueprint for the masterpiece that is your life. Don't start building without it. Okay, we've talked about taking control with habit 1 and creating a blueprint with habit 2. Now we get to habit 3. Put first things first. This is the habit of personal management. It's where the rubber meets the road. It's the physical creation that follows the mental creation of habit 2. You can have the most inspiring mission statement in the world, but if you don't manage your time and actions to align with it, it's just a piece of paper. This is about discipline, but not in the way you might think. It's not about being a robot. It's about having the integrity to act on your priorities. Covey gives us this incredible tool to understand this, the time management matrix. I want you to picture a square divided into 4 quadrants. On the top, you have urgent and not urgent. On the side, you have important and not important. This creates 4 boxes. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. These are crises, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects. The phone ringing, a crying child, a house on fire. We have to spend time here, but if we live here, we're constantly stressed and burned out. Quadrant 3 is urgent and not important. This is the quadrant of deception. These are the interruptions, some meetings, some emails, popular activities. They feel important because they are urgent. Someone is standing at your desk, your phone is buzzing, but they often have nothing to do with your long-term goals. This is where so many of us get stuck. We spend our days reacting to the urgent demands of others, feeling busy but not productive. And at the end of the day, we wonder where all the time went. Then there's quadrant 4, not urgent and not important. This is the quadrant of waste. Mindless scrolling on social media, binge-watching shows you don't even like, gossip. This is pure escapism. We often retreat here when we're burned out from spending too much time in quadrants 1 and 3. A little bit of this is fine for relaxation, but too much time here leads to a feeling of emptiness and a lack of responsibility. Now here's the secret. The heart of effective personal management is in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is not urgent but important. This is where the magic happens. What's in quadrant 2? Things like building relationships, writing your personal mission statement, long-range planning, exercising, preventative maintenance, creating new opportunities. These are the things we know we should do, but we rarely get around to them because they aren't screaming for our attention. Effective people are not problem-minded. They are opportunity-minded. They feed opportunities and starve problems. They spend their time in quadrant 2. The key to practicing habit 3 is to proactively schedule your quadrant 2 activities. You have to be the one to act on them. No one else is going to do it for you. This means looking at your week ahead of time, identifying your key roles, parent, manager, friend, individual, and setting 1 or 2 important quadrant 2 goals for each role. Then, you schedule those activities into your calendar like they are the most important appointments of your week, because they are. You schedule time for exercise, for date night, for strategic thinking, for learning a new skill. This requires you to have the courage to say no to things that are not important. It means saying no to quadrant 3 activities. When someone comes to you with an urgent request, you have to be able to pause and ask yourself, does this align with my most important goals? You learn to say, I can't do that right now, but I can look at it on Thursday. Or simply, no, I can't commit to that. It's hard. We want to be helpful. We don't want to disappoint people. But every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something that truly matters. So this week, I want you to do a time audit. Just for a day or 2, track how you're spending your time and categorize your activities into the 4 quadrants. Be honest with yourself. Where are you really living? Then I want you to plan your next week. Before Monday morning hits, sit down with your calendar. Identify your roles, set a few quadrant 2 goals, and schedule them. Treat them as unbreakable appointments. This is how you move from being a firefighter, constantly putting out urgent fires, to being an architect, carefully and thoughtfully building the life you designed in habit 2. So we've covered the first 3 habits, which are all about personal victory, moving from dependence to independence. Now we move into the habits of public victory, which are about working effectively with other people. And it all starts with habit 4, think win-win. This is honestly a total paradigm shift for a lot of us, because we're often raised in a world that teaches us win-lose. In school, your A means someone else got a B. In sports, one team wins and the other loses. In business, we often think we have to beat the competition. Win-win isn't a technique, it's a total philosophy of human interaction. It's a frame of mind and heart that constantly seeks mutual benefit in all human interactions. Win-win means that agreements or solutions are mutually beneficial, mutually satisfying. With a win-win solution, all parties feel good about the decision and feel committed to the action plan. It sees life as a cooperative, not a competitive arena. It's based on the paradigm that there is plenty for everybody, that one person's success is not achieved at the expense or exclusion of the success of others. Let's look at the alternatives, because they highlight why win-win is so powerful. There's win-lose. This is the authoritarian approach. I get my way, you don't get yours. People with this mindset are prone to using their position, power, credentials, or personality to get their way. Most of life is not a competition. We don't have to live our days competing with our spouse, our children, or our coworkers. What happens when you use a win-lose approach with someone you need to cooperate with long-term? You might win one battle, but you're damaging the relationship, which is the foundation for all future interactions. Then there's lose-win. This is the doormat mentality. Go ahead, have your way with me. Everyone else does. People with this mindset are quick to please or appease. They seek strength from popularity or acceptance. They have little courage to express their own feelings and convictions and are easily intimidated by the ego strength of others. In the long run, this is not sustainable either. You can only bury so many feelings before they come back in uglier ways, like resentment, cynicism, or psychosomatic illnesses. You're not being kind, you're being a martyr, and that doesn't serve anyone. And then there's the worst-case scenario, lose-lose. This is the philosophy of a highly dependent person. It's the philosophy of war, of revenge. When two win-lose people get together, that is, two determined, stubborn, ego-invested individuals, the result will be lose-lose. Both will lose. They become so focused on making the other person lose, even if it means losing themselves. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's a destructive and irrational mindset that unfortunately plays out all too often in bitter divorces or partnership disputes. So, how do we cultivate a win-win mindset? It starts with 3 character traits: integrity, maturity, and what Covey calls an abundance mentality. Integrity is being true to your values, the stuff we defined in Habit 2. Maturity is the balance between courage and consideration. It's the ability to express your own feelings and convictions with courage, balanced with consideration for the feelings and convictions of others. And the abundance mentality is the belief that there is plenty out there for everyone. The opposite, the scarcity mentality, sees life as a finite pie. If someone gets a big piece, there's less for me. The abundance mentality sees endless possibilities for growth and success. In your interactions this week, I want you to challenge yourself to find the win-win. When you're in a disagreement with your partner or negotiating a project with a colleague, stop thinking, how can I get what I want? And start asking, how can we find a solution that works for both of us? This isn't about being nice, and it isn't about compromise, which is often a 1 + 1 = 1.5 situation. Win-win is about collaboration. It's about putting your heads together to find a third alternative that is better than what either of you could have come up with alone. This requires you to be brave enough to state your needs and kind enough to listen to theirs. It means shifting your perspective from me versus you to us versus the problem. This is the foundation of all successful teams, all lasting marriages, all healthy partnerships. It's not easy, it takes work, but the long-term rewards, trust, cooperation, and better solutions are absolutely worth it. Start thinking win-win, and you'll find that you don't just win more. You build relationships that last a lifetime. Okay, this next habit might just be the most important one for building and repairing relationships. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This principle is honestly the key to effective interpersonal communication. Think about it for a second. How do most of us operate in a conversation? We don't listen with the intent to understand. We listen with the intent to reply. We're either speaking or we're preparing to speak. We're filtering everything through our own paradigms, our own autobiography. We're rushing to fix things with good advice before we've even diagnosed the problem. Imagine going to an optometrist. You tell him you're having trouble seeing, and he immediately takes off his own glasses, hands them to you, and says, "Here, try these. They've worked for me for years." You put them on, and of course, it only makes the problem worse. "This is terrible. I can't see a thing." And he replies, "Well, what's the matter with you? They work great for me. Just try harder." It's absurd, right? But that's exactly what we do in communication. We prescribe our own glasses to everyone we interact with. We give autobiographical responses, we advise, we probe, we interpret, we evaluate, all from our own frame of reference. The alternative is empathic listening. Empathic listening is not just hearing the words, it's not active listening or reflective listening, where you're just mimicking what someone says. Empathic listening is listening with your ears, your eyes, and your heart. You're listening for feeling, for meaning. You're trying to get inside the other person's frame of reference. You're trying to see the world the way they see it, to understand their paradigm, to understand how they feel. It's a profound shift. You're not listening to agree or disagree. You're listening to fully, deeply understand. When you practice empathic listening, you're making a huge deposit in what Covey calls the emotional bank account. Every interaction you have with someone is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Being kind, keeping promises, showing integrity, those are deposits. Being unkind, breaking a trust, showing disrespect, those are withdrawals. When the account is high, communication is easy, effective, and instant. When the account is overdrawn, there's tension and distrust. Empathic listening is one of the biggest deposits you can make. It's deeply therapeutic and healing because it gives a person psychological air. Once you've given that person psychological air, once they feel truly seen and heard and understood, they become open. Their defenses come down. They become willing to listen to you, to be influenced by you. This is the second part of the habit, then to be understood. This part requires courage, the same courage we talked about in Habit 4. It's about clearly and respectfully presenting your own ideas. But because you've taken the time to understand first, you can frame your points in a way that relates to the other person's paradigm and concerns. You're no longer prescribing your glasses, you're working together to find the right prescription. Let me give you a practical technique. When you're listening to someone, especially if it's an emotional topic, try to reflect back the feeling you're hearing. You can say things like, "So it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated about this," or "It seems as though you're incredibly hurt by what happened." You're not saying, "I agree with you." You're saying, "I understand you." You're validating their emotions without necessarily validating their position. This simple act can diffuse so much conflict and open the door to real problem solving. Think about a recent argument or misunderstanding you had. Did you truly try to understand the other person's point of view before you jumped in with your own? Or were you just waiting for them to take a breath so you could make your point? This week, I want you to practice this in one conversation. Pick a safe one, maybe with a friend or a family member. Put your own agenda aside. Don't advise, don't judge, don't interrupt. Just listen. Ask clarifying questions. Try to articulate their point of view back to them until they say, "Yes, that's exactly it." See what happens. This habit is a game changer. It will transform your relationships with your spouse, your kids, your colleagues, and your customers. It's the key to unlocking win-win solutions and synergy, which we'll talk about next. But it all starts with this deep, respectful, human need to be understood. And the only way to get there is to first give it to someone else. Seek first to understand. It's a principle you can practice right now, and it will change everything. All right, let's get into one of the most exciting and creative habits. Habit 6, synergize. This is the habit of creative cooperation. It's the culmination of all the previous habits. When you're proactive, begin with the end in mind. Put first things first, think win-win, and seek first to understand. You create the perfect conditions for synergy to happen. So what is synergy? Simply put, synergy is when the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's the idea that 1 + 1 can equal 3 or 10 or even 100. Synergy is not the same as compromise. In a compromise, 1 + 1 equals 1.5, at best. Both parties give something up. It's a low form of win-win. Synergy is about creating something new, something that wasn't there before. It's about creating a third alternative that is better than either of the original proposals. It's the magic that happens when you truly value the differences between people and use those differences to create something amazing. The essence of synergy is to value differences, the mental, emotional, and psychological differences between people. The person who is truly effective has the humility and reverence to recognize their own perceptual limitations and to appreciate the rich resources available through interaction with the hearts and minds of other human beings. You don't have to agree with someone to value their perspective. In fact, if two people have the same opinion, one of them is unnecessary. It's the differences that provide the opportunity for creativity. Think about nature. A synergistic ecosystem is one where different plants and animals interact to create a rich, resilient environment. The roots of one plant might hold the soil for another, while its leaves provide shade. The waste of one animal becomes food for another. It's a beautiful, interconnected system where every element contributes something unique. That's what we're aiming for in our relationships and teams. We want to stop seeing differences as a threat or a source of conflict and start seeing them as a source of strength and creativity. So how do you get there? You can't force synergy. You have to create the conditions for it. This goes right back to the previous habits. You need a high emotional bank account. People aren't going to open up and share their most creative ideas if they don't feel safe and trusted. You need to be thinking win-win. If people are stuck in a competitive win-lose mindset, they'll be guarding their ideas, not sharing them. And most importantly, you have to practice habit 5. Seek first to understand. You have to genuinely listen to and value other perspectives before you can synthesize them into something new. When you're faced with a problem or a challenge with another person or a team, the synergistic approach is to say, okay, you see it this way, and I see it that way. I'm not going to try to convince you that you're wrong. Instead, let's try to fully understand each other's perspectives. And once we do, let's brainstorm a new solution that we can both be excited about, one that neither of us had thought of before. This takes tremendous vulnerability and security, but the payoff is immense. This applies everywhere. In a family, instead of parents dictating rules or giving in to their kids, a synergistic family works together to create solutions for problems that everyone can feel good about. In a business, a synergistic team doesn't just have members who are good at their individual jobs, they have members who leverage each other's strengths and compensate for each other's weaknesses to produce extraordinary results. They create a culture where wild ideas are encouraged because that's where breakthroughs happen. Your challenge is to find an opportunity to synergize this week. Look for a situation where there's disagreement or a difference of opinion. Instead of digging in your heels or compromising, try the synergistic path. Use the language. Could we try for a solution that's better than what either of us has come up with so far? Really listen to their side. Have the courage to state your side. And then, open your mind to a new possibility, a third alternative. It's in that creative space that you'll find the magic of synergy. We've made it to the final habit, habit 7, sharpen the saw. This is the habit that makes all the other habits possible. It's the habit of self-renewal, self-care, self-improvement. I want you to imagine a woodcutter who has been sawing for days. He's exhausted and he's not making much progress. You approach him and say, "Hey, why don't you take a break for a few minutes and sharpen your saw? I'm sure you'd cut much faster." And the woodcutter replies, "I don't have time to sharpen the saw. I'm too busy sawing." It's a ridiculous scenario, but it's how so many of us live our lives. We are the saw. Our capacity to live, love, learn, and contribute is our greatest asset. But we get so caught up in the sawing, the work, the responsibilities, the endless to-do lists, that we neglect the instrument itself. Habit 7 is about taking the time to sharpen the saw. It's about investing in yourself. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the single most powerful investment we can ever make in life. Investment in ourselves, in the only instrument we have with which to deal with life and to contribute. Covey breaks this down into 4 key dimensions of our nature, and we need to renew all of them in a balanced way. The first is the physical dimension. This is about caring for your physical body. It means eating well, getting enough rest and relaxation, and exercising regularly. This isn't just about looking good or preventing disease. When you take care of your body, you have more energy, more resilience, and a greater capacity to handle stress. It directly impacts your mental and emotional state. What is one small thing you can do this week to sharpen your physical saw? Maybe it's taking a 20-minute walk every day or swapping soda for water. The second dimension is the spiritual. Now, this doesn't have to mean religion, although it can for many people. The spiritual dimension is about connecting to your core, your center, your value system, the things we explored in Habit 2. It's about finding a source of inspiration and peace. This could be through meditation, prayer, spending time in nature, listening to great music, or reading inspiring literature. It's about taking time for quiet reflection, to remind yourself of what truly matters. It's the time you take to review and recommit to your personal mission statement. The third dimension is the mental. This is about continuing to learn and grow your mind. Too many of us stop actively learning after we finish our formal education. Sharpening the mental saw means reading good books, watching documentaries, learning a new skill or language, writing in a journal, or engaging in stimulating conversations. It's about getting out of your comfort zone and exposing yourself to new ideas. It's about expanding your mind and keeping it sharp and curious. It prevents mental atrophy and keeps you engaged with the world. The fourth dimension is the social-emotional. This is the dimension where habits 4, 5, and 6 come into play. It's about making meaningful connections with other people. It's about making deposits in the emotional bank accounts of those you love and work with. It's about practicing empathic listening, thinking win-win, and seeking synergy. It's about service, finding ways to contribute to the lives of others without expecting anything in return. Our emotional lives are not separate from our relationships. They are deeply intertwined. The key to habit 7 is balance. If you focus only on exercise but neglect your relationships, you're out of balance. If you read all the time but never move your body, you're out of balance. The process of renewing yourself in these 4 areas creates an upward spiral of growth. As you renew your physical dimension, you feel better, which gives you more capacity for mental and spiritual renewal. As you renew yourself spiritually, you have a clearer purpose, which makes it easier to practice the social-emotional habits. Each habit feeds the others. This isn't about adding more to-dos to your already packed schedule. It's about seeing self-renewal as a quadrant 2 activity. Important, but not urgent. You have to be proactive and schedule it in. No one else is going to do it for you. Sharpening the saw is the investment that protects and enhances your greatest asset, you. So take a look at these 4 areas. Where are you strong, and where could you use a little sharpening? Commit to one small daily act of renewal in each area this week. You deserve it, and your effectiveness depends on it. We've been on quite a journey today, walking through these 7 timeless principles. From taking radical responsibility for your life, to creating synergy with others, and finally, to the crucial act of self-renewal. As you can see, these habits aren't just a collection of good ideas. They are an integrated framework for personal and interpersonal effectiveness. They build on each other, creating an upward spiral of growth that can profoundly change not just what you accomplish, but who you are. Living a life guided by these principles is about more than just achieving success. It's about building a life of character, integrity, and purpose. The real beauty of this framework is that it empowers you to become a positive force in the world. When you live a principle-centered life, your effectiveness isn't just for your own benefit. It radiates outward. You become a better partner, a more inspiring leader, a more compassionate friend, and a more engaged member of your community. You create a ripple effect of positivity and trust that influences everyone you interact with. This is how you leave a legacy, not just through grand achievements, but through the daily practice of living a life that is aligned with your deepest values. So what now? It can feel overwhelming to think about changing 7 habits all at once, and you don't have to. The most powerful journeys begin with a single step. I want to encourage you right now to pick just one habit that resonated with you the most. Maybe it's being more proactive in your language, or maybe it's listening with more empathy in your next conversation. Whatever it is, commit to practicing just that one thing this week. Meaningful change doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small, consistent actions. Start today. Start now. You have everything you need to begin.